Hello, my name is Tony. You can call me Tony because this channel. Oh, I hit my guitar string. My bad. This channel is gonna be posting some of my own music, but I'm also gonna be focusing on the philosophy behind Drain Gang, behind Blade's lyrics in particular. Um, I don't have a fancy intro or a way to start this off. I just feel like um there's people on YouTube who are kind of doing this, and I think they need to do it more. We just need to have more videos where instead of like being like Anthony Fantano, where it's like, oh, we're gonna rate this music 3 out of 10, 2 out of 10. Oh, this one was better, 8 out of 10. Like, let's just accept the media for what it is, accept what Blade has given to us, Benjamin Reichwald, you know, whatever you want to call him. Let's Auto-Tune Angel, whatever you want to call Blade. I wanted to take a deep dive into each one of his officially released works, his discography. Um, and I just kind of want to go it step by step. I don't want to like rush through anything, but I've been thinking I'm a total, Drain Gang, GTBSG, fan. I've listened to Blade. I actually listened to Young Lean first. My buddy showed me Oreo Milkshake, and I was like, oh, this is weird. This is kind of it was kind of funny to me actually how ridiculous it was. Seeing that, and especially seeing Hurt. If you haven't seen Young Lean Hurt, pause the video right now, go check it out. And so that was kind of the start of me getting into Sad Boys, SBE, and then really quickly I became a drainer, as they say. But so yeah, this channel it may not be for you. Um, it's going to be more off the cuff opinions that I have based on my experience with Blade and his, and me listening to his work, seeing him live in person, learning about, the little details they do give or he does give about the backstory, what's happening behind the scenes because we just hear the music, and we can like or dislike whatever we hear that he puts out. But it's not that people forget this, but people are becoming less aware that it's like these artists, they're not like someone we should put on a pedestal and like worship, They're just normal human beings like us, and so that's Blade kind of digs into that, right? He digs into that idea of like I'm not special, right? That's one of his most he uses that line all the time. He calls himself King Nothing. I'm not special. I'm not special, So if he's not special, then who is? And so we won't go down that rabbit hole. But that was just my quick intro into what this channel is going to be. Maybe I'll put a timestamp to just say, like, this is the intro / providing some context. And then right about now, we're going to focus on Blade's first official work, Glue. And I have my laptop right here. And it is not that I've heard all of these songs tons and tons of times. I probably know lyrics, memorize snippets of lyrics here and there, but I want to just see what Blade was trying to do with this first project, because I don't think Blade knew much about the impact he would be having on like not just the cloud rap scene, not just the hyperpop scene, but like the entire music scene in general. So it starts with delete intro. Okay. Now Blade does like to use the word intro sometimes for his albums, like as you can see with The Fool. It was called The Fool Intro. He also does outros. And And I think this is what makes Blade's project feel so connected and so cohesive. Is it's just like each album is a story, right? Each album is a lens into how he's viewing his life at the time, right? And so you may just be like, oh no, he just kind of raps randomly about, drugs, about, sex, not having sex is bad, sex sells. He talks about violence, he has a blade, he's got an axe. But I think I'm trying to remember, there's this guy on YouTube. I'll probably link him down below. He's an older dude. And I'm gonna link him down below. But shout outs to him. He's someone who was not, he's not in my age or group or, in my demographic, but he sees the value of Blade's music and what it's doing, to lift people up, I'm not saying all Blade music is supposed to lift you up, but he sees the power behind the movement of drinking. Anyways, when we go into delete, and I'm just gonna like scroll through some of the lyrics here and tell you like what I think, okay? Sorry, I'm just reading the lyrics. Right. And so this is the thing about delete. This is how I interpret it. In order to succeed in life, you need to delete your past. In order to achieve greatness in the future, you have to somewhat delete your past. Now, this may be like a weird understanding of that song, right? Because it's like, nah, he's just saying delete, like you can sing, I press delete, I don't listen. Thaiboy says that, and that's very interesting because, if we're taking this from a spiritual perspective, right, which Blade often delves into, and, Thaiboy and Ecco and all them, and Young Lean, when Thaiboy says, you can sing, I press delete, I don't listen, that's like kind of like, it's kind of like Blade, like, saying, you're not going to listen to the messages I have to say. You're just going to delete them from your memory, And that kind of ties into exit or be in your mind. He doesn't want you to delete the message that he's ultimately trying to give us, right? And it's not a singular message. There's probably multiple messages, right? Excuse me while I drain my lungs. Just nicotine. So you can sing, I press delete, I don't listen. This goes back to what my interpretation is. You have to delete your past in order to continue your story into the future. Okay? And that's why I think every single one of Blade's albums feel melodically so... none of them... Each of them are cohesive, and they all work together, but you couldn't take a song from Red Light and then go into a song from Exeter and then go into a song from Crest. You would be like, what are we doing, And so usually when I listen to Blade, I listen to it project by project, Or if he has a single, I'll just listen to a single. But if I'm listening to Unreal, and I keep wanting to listen to Blade, I'll just, play out Unreal. But it's just a personal preference thing, right? So deleting your past is to me, this is a fancy way of saying forgiveness. Okay? I think as humans, we get into a fight, we get into a grudge with somebody, but then either we're so scared to confront them or we don't feel like it's worth our time to confront the person we have, a grudge against, and so we just bury it deep and deep and deep. And Blade is saying, delete it. Thaiboy's saying, delete it. GTB, I see machines in the city. No ozone, sold my soul, now my soul's gone. So he's kind of like he Blade brings this motif up that he can't breathe a lot, you know. So when he says no ozone, it's like, oh, there's no atmosphere. I think there's some lines where he says bad atmosphere. Um, and so the reason why the atmosphere is bad, in my opinion, is everyone's holding on to their baggage, their grudges. They're not forgiving each other for, you know, what we should forgive each other for. And I'm not saying you have to forgive everyone who's wronged you right away, you know, but I do think that forgiveness is a very healing process, you know. So, in order to forgive, we have to delete or get rid of those grudges, those thoughts of that make those thoughts about people that make them seem like they're bad people or whatever. Um, got no meaning, pull the card, get a reading. This line by Blade is interesting because he's almost teasing some of the stuff and imagery he uses in The Fool. Pull the card, get a reading. That's a tarot card. And in the Fool music video, I'm pretty sure, or it's Ego Baby, they have the actual tarot card, you know? So that goes into whole Blade being Blade thinking about mysticism, Gnosticism, like he's looking at everything. And so that's why I think sometimes, you know, even just one song has so much to digest. Like right now in Delete, he says, I hold the map, I got the keys to the city. Now he's talking about Blade City, right? Because in the beginning he says Blade City, but it's almost like he's referring to like a paradise of some sort, you know? But it's interesting because it's not the paradise we would typically think of where everything's natural and it's like a Garden of Eden kind of thing. It's like a technologically advanced paradise. That's why he says, GTB, I see machines in the city. Helicopters when we leave in December. So yeah, I think that is the main point of Delete. Okay, and I see we're getting on 12 minutes, so I should really move on to the next track. If you have any thoughts, you know, maybe I missed something, I'm just kind of going off the cuff here. Let's go to Safehouse. Right off the bat, what do I think of when I think of Safehouse? I'm connecting it to Crest. I got it tatted on me. Alright? That's Blade's Safehouse. In my opinion. Oh, my guitar. Maybe that was a sign. No, I'm just kidding. So, when he said it's a safe house, he says, Purple Prius, don't cross me like Jesus. Night vision, I can see if they see us. Leather jacket, living in cold conditions. So, he's basically saying like, okay, I did the first step. I deleted my past. Now I'm ready to look towards the future, but it's not a bright future, you know? There's evil, you know? And so when Blade talks about his safe house, it's kind of like he's in a house, like living here, you know, but he can't leave. Because if he leaves that house, he's leaving the paradise, he's leaving the peace. So he's cooped up in this house. And for me, the house is a representation of just a place you can go where you can be alone and by yourself and like think about life and your own thoughts. You're not having any contact with the outside world. You know, it's almost like if you were a hermit. Sometimes I imagine just Blade living in this house like a hermit, you know. So yeah, and already we can see, even just in the second song, he's talking about 60 locks, 3 for my jeans. You know, he's starting to use these numbers 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 6, 9. 9 upside down is a 6, yada yada. And so that's that's like a whole video in itself. Like, what does Blade mean by 333? Okay, I agree with him that it's an important number, but here he calls himself the Rain King. Um, and I think that's an important part of this song, is that when when stuff is going bad, um, or things are gloomy, we think of rain, you know. But rain is actually beautiful in its own way. It's like water, little droplets coming down. It's like refreshing, I'm just thinking as rain as like an image or a literary tool, or something like that. Why would you introduce rain? Because what's the thing with rain? It's going to be wet, it's going to be awful, it's going to be hard to get places, it's all coming down until it ends, and then we get a beautiful rainbow. And so some people would be like, I don't want the rain at all, and I don't care about having the rainbow. And there's other people that would say, I want the rain to come down, even though it sucks, because there's a rainbow at the end. And if you listen to Good Luck by Blade, Rainbow, one of my favorite songs. Take the rainbow road. Anyways, I digress. So yeah, Safe House. Think about what that means to Blade. It also ties into, I think it's on, we'll get to this when we get to that album. I believe it's on Ever Since. No, sorry, Ice Dancer. I think it's Ice Dancer. But Blade has a song called Special Place. And to me, it's like Special Place and Safe House are kind of the same thing. He's just saying it in two different ways, right? He wakes up and he sees both sides. We'll get into that later. So yeah, that's Safe House. Ooh, I just realized. Good thing we only got 9. eBay. Yeah, eBay is interesting because it's not okay. So let me just say this. I'm not saying that every single one of Blade's songs is supposed to be super, super deep and like there's supposed to be this huge message in it that everyone's like, no. Sometimes he just makes fun music, and that's why I like him, Like he did Frozen 2, you know, and that, was about, them just going to town with, he's done Mall Horse, stuff like that, but I still do think every single song that he releases has a piece of something that's true. So in this one, they talk about eBay, eBay is like kind of like a technology that we not a technology. It's a service and a technology that we take for granted. We can search whatever we want to buy and someone will be selling it, And so this sounds like a good thing, but is it really a good thing if we have that much choice? You go to a Walmart, you can only buy what they have on the shelf, You go on the internet, you can buy anything you want. And so I think that this song, right? And he also says Bitcoins on USB. That's what Echo says. Blu-ray disc in the PS3. It's kind of like bringing it back to kind of like a Y2K, like vaporwave era for me, where technology was just starting to become really cool, but not as advanced as we have now, Probably in like the mid 2000s, I'm guessing, which is when they were making, some of these songs. But so yeah, eBay, I think he's commenting on consumerism, if you want to look like that way. That's only if you want to delve in deep to this song. This song personally, I think is one of the ones where I say, oh, okay, Blade is more focused on just the fun, chill, vibe song. He's not trying to like go super deep. So I gotta get through this a little faster. We go to Shadowface, one of my favorite songs off Glue. And I wish Bones would come back. I know he's. Yeah, I when I say that, it's because I've done zero research. But he was a very talented artist, Bones, and he probably still is if he's still making music. I feel bad if I haven't checked it out. But we go into Shadowface, and he goes, "I know it's hopeless, crown of thorns, blood on the roses. Can I buy emotion? Sitting next to Joseph." So right away in Glue, and a lot of people are like, "Oh no, Blade didn't start rapping about Christian stuff until, at least Good Luck." Um, but I think he's been incorporating these subtle messages in the whole time, right? So, Crown of Thorns, obviously, Jesus, right? The Bible, you know. In Hero of My Story 3 style, which is on 333, he says, "Out the gate like Messiah, crown around my head and barbed wire." So the change from this song or this lyric in Shadowface to that lyric in 333 is first Blade is saying, "No, yeah, I have a crown of thorns, like literally the crown of thorns like Jesus had." But then when you go to 333, he still has a crown, but it's not of thorns, it's a barbed wire. And that kind of ties into the whole, he's taking the story of the passion of Jesus in some ways, very vaguely, perhaps very lightly, and then adding his spice to it, making it digestible into a way that the audience can understand it, or maybe even perhaps creating more value out of the imagery by adjusting what it is. No, it's no longer thorns, it's barbed wire. And it's like, barbed wire didn't exist back then, it only exists now, but it almost sounds like it would be more painful than thorns. You know what I mean? It's wire. So, and he's sitting next to Joseph. Um, um, when they talk about there's several Josephs in the Bible. He could be referring to one of those. He could be referring to a friend named Joseph. Um. Anyways. And then Bones. He talks about a switchblade shines like ice and snow. Bones lyrics, I think, they more focus on like a vibe, like of the long lost son, the prodigal son coming home. He says, "Because I'm feeling all alone and I really needed you to come back home. I just really needed you to come back home." He repeats it 3 times. So when you talk about Shadowface, right? It's interesting because the face, if you just take it literally, your face, when the shadow doesn't show all the details of your face, it's just an outline. It would be very hard if you had 2 people who were around the same build, standing next to each other behind a bright light, telling who was who, because it's just a shadow. And that's going to be a constant motif in Blade's discography and his works going forward, right? So Shadowface, we see the beginnings of, religious imagery, but also just existential imagery. Bada boom, bada bing. Okay, we are trying to be on a roll. Spellbound. Love this song. Money got me spellbound. Hit the mall in the sunshine. It's funny, it's interesting to me how he talks about being in the sunshine in Glue, because I would have thought, like, on a spiritual journey, you're not going to be reaching the sunshine until you're at the very end. But it seems like he experienced the peace or the spirituality early on, in my interpretation, because he says hit them all in the sunshine, right? But what music do we get later? Still in Search of Sunshine. He has that song with Thaiboy Digital. But it's like, but in Glue, he was saying he was in the sunshine. You know? You have to think about it. You have to compare and contrast Blade's lyrics with, his old stuff and new stuff. I said you have to kind of treat each work as a separate body. But he's an evolving artist, and so he's going to have opinions that evolve, or he's going to have ideas that evolve, lyrics that evolve. He might say something similar, like hit them all in the sunshine. Then he made the song Still in Search of Sunshine, and then he has the song on Good Luck. I just thought about this. In the night with the sun, so a lot of people say the sun, reminds them of the heavens. It's a big star in the sky. It could be the higher power. That's what I think Blade's referring to. But he's not calling it spirituality just yet. He's still calling it music, which is like spellbound. There's like a magical quality. And that's what I think some people miss. When they're looking at his music and they're trying to decipher it for themselves. There's not a right answer for how to interpret any of these lyrics, okay? But I would advise that if you're like really interested in attempting to see Blade's music in the way that he sees it himself, you have to pay really close attention to the words he's using and try to understand the context and why he's using them. So, he starts talking about, he always throws in like designer clothes, like talks about Prada Sport, Lamborghini doors, all this stuff. But does that all really even matter since he's in the sunshine? Is he going to be in the sunshine for long? His discography makes me think otherwise. So we get right into Everlasting Flames. Okay. And it's interesting. He says, Everlasting Flames, see me aiming at your face. And so right off the bat, what is Blade trying to say? I think he's saying, I'm going to shoot you with, not literally, figuratively, with my spirituality or how I understand the world, and I'm not going to be subtle about it, just in the sense that I'm not going to I'm not going to, try to be like, oh, let's find a middle ground. He's like, no. The everlasting flames are going right to your face, right? I was so afraid because I couldn't feel the pain. This goes into the motif of Blade's lyrics where he's just constantly numbing himself with drugs, right? And it's kind of sad to see. I mean, I know why it's happened. He didn't know he was going to blow up. And to be honest, he's not even that blown up. He's still considered underground, which is crazy to me. But with that life comes, you have to make sacrifices. Some people would say making it in Hollywood, you got to sell your soul. I think Blade mentions that a couple times. Not Hollywood, but just the music industry in general. And so he's processing. This was before Glue was before he really blew out, but he was like pretty, I guess, kind of well-known-ish in the underground scene. You can fact check me on that. But he says, finished snow, always been in Rome. I was building storms, building wars. I was getting calls from beyond the wall. Sacred halls went inside the mall, gotta spend it all. So it's interesting because he talks about money a lot, right? But then he says, like, I'm just spending it all, you know? He's not hoarding it. If you think of it from a spiritual or biblical perspective, it was like the guy who, I forget the exact thing. There were three guys and who were working on a field, and then there was the head guy, and he was like, "Here, I'm gonna give you all 3 pieces of gold or 4 pieces of gold. Do whatever you want with it, and I'll give a reward to the one I think handled it the best." And one guy just put it in a hole and buried it. One guy spent it all right away, and then another guy, like, was able to increase how much it was. Like, he was basically investing it, and that guy was the guy who was chosen, right? But Blade is kind of like embracing the archetype of just spending it all, you know? And it seems selfish, it seems arbitrary, it seems frivolous, but for Blade, like, money is just a means to an end, you know? There's no value in holding, in seeing a number on a screen, which is how it is nowadays. We don't have physical cash, we just see a number on the screen, you know? And so Blade, through his music, through religious imagery, he's trying to break down these filters, right? And he's like saying, hey, look, read my lyrics, come up with your own ideas, which is what I'm doing too. Standing in the rain. The rain is nice, but what if it's acid rain? We'll get more into that when I do a review of Trash Island, because they definitely talk about that a lot. Okay, speeding up, we got freeze. Walk on water, make it freeze. Interesting line. Who colloquially or culturally do we think of as someone who walked on water? Jesus Christ. But when Blade walks on the water, he makes it freeze. So this is kind of an interesting idea if you think about it. Blade uses this line all the time. I think he says, I froze myself, now I'm freezing you. Today. Yeah, and I think it's on Ever Since he says, I froze myself, now I'm freezing you. So it's interesting because in a religious or spiritual context, water is flow connected, you know? But Blade, every time he touches it, he's like King Midas. He freezes it. He stops the connection, you know? And I don't really know. I would love to hear some comments on that, what you think when Blade says freeze, because... Oh, my guitar again. You know. What does he mean when he's saying he's freezing the water? He has songs that talk about water, and he has songs where he's freezing it. I think he wants us to extrapolate something from that. I can never love, I can never love. I wish I could miss, but I have nothing to miss. Again, it's like he's struggling between holding on to attachments, you know, freezing it so it stays the same. But at some point, he's got to let the sunshine in. And what does the sunshine do? Melts that which is frozen, right? Didn't think this video was going to be that long, but okay. Upgrade enabled. They talk about glue, silicon-based glue. What is the importance of glue? Well, glue holds things together, right? It's like, glue is a tool we use to connect things. So Blade, in a way, in his music, in my opinion, is using that to connect. One second, guys. My padre was giving me a call. I'm almost done with this video. Sorry for the unprofessionalism. Glue. We gotta glue our lives back together. We gotta glue our personal story with the overarching story of our life. We have to glue. We have to mend our relationships. Sometimes we were really close with someone, but we broke apart. But if we reconcile and forgive each other, we can add glue. That forgiveness acts as a glue, right? I think we're on the last thing. Upgrade enabled is basically just talking about that, I think. Along with other stuff. So if we go to the last one, Unreal, the best song, in my opinion, on the album. You can fight me. Bladee is saying I'm unreal. He uses imagery like from a World of Warcraft or like a RuneScape thing. You know? I'm unreal, I'm unreal, I'm unreal. I'm unreal. Life is not real. Is life real? I think so. But are we real? Are we truly being ourselves? I don't know. These are all my Bladee vinyls, I guess, before you go. Just wanted to show you these. I will be back with another video talking about his next project, which is Ever Since. Alright, see you later.